Former Congresswoman Jane Harman, thank you so much for being here. I want to start, this is a very busy news day. Former President Trump is turning himself in, first U.S. president to be indicted, yet support is higher among GOP voters for him to be the 2020 nominee than it was a week ago. Does that help or hurt Democrats?
Well, it helps Trump. I don't know over the longer term what it will do for Democrats, but Trump is getting 24/7 publicity, which he always craves. He's going to claim that 100 billion people marched in. I think that's too many people, and not that many people in the world, plus trees and animals, but nonetheless, that's what he'll claim, and everyone is watching this. What about all the other things they should be watching? Like what will happen in Israel, and what will happen in Ukraine today, and what will happen in the geopolitical world in which we find ourselves. What about all that? It's still happening, and yet it's all Trump all the time. I mean, for him, this is nirvana.
For the very first time, Finland's flag was raised over NATO headquarters today. I want your reaction.
Well, it's a huge border Finland has between it and Russia, and it's the leaders of Finland always hated the word Finlandization, but what it meant was careful neutrality between the West and Russia over decades. And with Russia's unlawful invasion of Ukraine, that's blown up, and Finland picked a side. And good for Finland, and good for the West for welcoming it into NATO. Next up is Sweden, and I hope that Turkey will move aside with its demands, which I don't really understand, and let Sweden join too.
So speaking of security in the West, we conducted a poll among our followers and readers at GZERO, and 71% said that North America, meaning the U.S. and Canada, are not adequately prepared for 21st century security threats like cyber. First of all, your reaction to that, and what more do you think can be done between the two countries?
Well, no one is adequately prepared, because the truth about technology is it evolves hourly. And being adequately prepared requires having a very knowledgeable private sector. We're pretty good in both countries. But also having a very agile government. We're not so good at that in either country. I think we have a lot of catch up to do. But I would salute the U.S. and Canada for being totally aligned and for being pretty advanced on these topics. And I think it is Canada that just came out fairly recently with a cyber norm proposal. The U.S. has talked about that, and hadn't happened yet, but having a global or at least a regional or an aligned nation agreement on the limitations on cyber, what you can and can't do, would be a really great step forward, and maybe that can be birthed at this conference.
Finally, as a longtime lawmaker in your career with a lot of foreign policy experience, what one major policy change do you think should happen between the U.S. and Canada right now on a big problem that the world is facing?
Well, I think the biggest problems are cyber and AI, and I think the change that should happen is both of our governments should find ways to do better with thinking about these problems. I'm about to say that politicians are analog, our problems are digital, and legislating may get us absolutely nowhere until we have real expertise, not just about what the problem is, and we're able to admire the problem, but how to solve the problem. And we have a lot to learn from the private sector.